Hey everybody, I just want to make this vlog to definitively clear up questions out there regarding the Raiders' intent that led to the move to Las Vegas. First of all, Mark Davis never intended for the Raiders to stay in Oakland. It wasn't a matter of not getting a stadium deal. On October 9th, it was recorded, Mr. Davis, Mark, said that they were going to pursue a stadium in Los Angeles. That was 2011. And if you follow the history from 2011 to 2012, 2013, it was a dance of the city of Oakland modifying Coliseum City, which was originally created by the late Bob Lesty, Steve Lowe, and the late Frank Dobson as the architect. Originally an idea to put retail around the stadium, but it morphed, thanks to Oakland District 7 Councilman Larry Reed, into a bigger project that consisted of office, stadium, arena refurbishment, and housing. But I digress. And the idea was to have a new home for both the Raiders on one hand and the A's on the other. But when Mark Davis came up along, he always had his eye someplace else. First, in general Los Angeles, then he partnered with the Chargers in what was presented initially as an alternative in case the Raiders and the Chargers didn't get stadiums in their home markets. But really, it was from the get-go, Carson, reflective of a true intent to leave Oakland and San Diego, respectively. You would say, why did they go through all this? First, Mark Davis spent a lot of his time out of Oakland, far more than in, has a house in Palm Springs. He's building one in Las Vegas right now. And then that was 2011. 2012, something happened that was the sports economic equivalent of an H-bomb. Now former Microsoft Chairman Steve Balmer bought the Los Angeles Clippers for $2 billion, which is a record price for a sports franchise, and sent shockwaves around the sports world. And it said to the NFL, hey, wait a minute, not only are our NBA franchises catching up to our franchises in terms of value, they did it in Los Angeles, and we have no presence in Los Angeles. And that started a flurry of activity that resulted in what we see today. The near completion of SoFi Stadium to house the Rams, previously in St. Louis, yes, former Los Angeles Rams, but returned to become the, well, if you really want to be technical about it, Inglewood Rams. Why all this? Again, to realize greater franchise value for owners, and also payment in the form of relocation fees. Davis really wanted to be in LA, but Las Vegas became a wonderful consolation prize because Las Vegas Sands founder and chairperson Sheldon Adelson came along and engineered a $750 million subsidy for a stadium in the Valley, and initially was going to put in $650 million of his own money to the project and essentially be a partner with Davis. But then it was found by Las Vegas Sands representatives and Mr. Adelson himself that they were not being included in the Raiders' lease. It was the problem for Mark. If Adelson was included as an official partner, they would not have gotten the votes necessary from the league's owners to be able to relocate from Oakland to Las Vegas. Why? Concerns about gambling at the time. Views about gambling have changed rapidly in a very short period of time with respect to sports gambling. That's another story. But that's what opened the door. And even during that period, the Raiders were saying, well, we're going to get a home in Oakland. We're working on it. But what they were doing was much like the M5 multitronic computer in Star Trek, sending a false relay to make the crew of the Enterprise and Captain Kirk think that it was actually shutting down, was plotting something else entirely. That's what the Raiders are doing. They had Larry McNeil talking with and exchanging emails with now former Assistant Chief Administrative Officer, Claudia Capio, who, by her own admission, was really catching up to this whole new world of stadium financing and sponsorships herself. But none of those communications, which stopped on the 16th of September of 2016, none of those communications, according to the email trail that I have, none of those communications led to anything concrete. And they were based on work that had already been done. Thanks to Fred Blackwell, before he became Chief Administrative Officer of the San Francisco Foundation and left in 2014, left the city of Oakland. He was Chief Administrative Officer and then Head of Economic Development before that, and the person that really the Raiders, the A's, the Warriors trusted with their stadium concerns. He was very adept. But I digress again. Through all of this, Mark Davis had his eyes on someplace else and on Las Vegas. He was interested in gambling as far back as 2014, and he received the help from Adelson. Oakland was an annoyance, truthfully. So that's what happened. So for those of you around trying to figure out what happened or why, or still asking those questions, I just gave you the answer. Subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com.